Faker is the first player to be inducted into the League of Legends Hall of Fame, known as the Hall of Legends. Now, it may seem an obvious choice, but why exactly has Faker been chosen? Why do some people think he shouldn't have been picked first, and who can we expect to see inducted next? So back in January, during the 2024 State of the Game address, Riot announced they would be creating the Hall of Legends, League of Legends' very own Hall of Fame, intended to enshrine pro players who have left their mark on the game. And although they didn't say who their first inductee was going to be back then, it was definitely a shocked Pikachu face this week when they announced that it was Faker.
The unkillable Demon King rebuilds his throne with the skulls of his enemy, Faker!
모든 프로게이머들의 구상이 되시는 분인데
그냥 미스터 LOL이잖아요. 써 LOL 이렇게 해야 되나?
Will there ever be another Faker? No.
That was a trailer from Riot for a film about Faker set to be released on June 14th. So although Faker may just seem like the obvious choice for the Hall of Legends, how exactly did he get chosen, and what else can we expect to see as part of this commemoration? Riot doesn't just choose inductees themselves. They work with a panel of judges from regional leagues and communities to identify a pool of 20 nominees. In a Riot statement to esports.net, they said any pro player who has played 5 cumulative years in one of the major leagues is eligible for nomination. These are then presented to 50 global panelists representing every region, who then assess the players on a bunch of criteria, including international qualifications, domestic titles, international titles, contribution to the esport, and how they may have redefined perceptions of the game, how they change the perception of a role, strategy, or meta, their on and off Rift persona, any accolades they receive like MVP awards, as well as specific statistics related to their role. So when you look at the criteria, it's kind of obvious for some why Faker has taken the first seat in the Hall of Legends. He's had the most international success with 4 Worlds titles and 2 MSI wins, as well as a whopping 10 domestic titles. His contribution to the esport and its perception around the world is simply immense. He has redefined what it means to be an esport legend for League and esports in general, and he's even changed the way we speak about the game. It's got to the point where if you make a clutch play in a game while playing with friends, you say you're actually Faker. What more is there to say? But the Faker celebrations won't just end with a short film and a pat on the back. Riot have said that he'll be honored with an in-game event that will allow players to buy custom cosmetics to commemorate his career. It appears that some of the assets for this in-game event may have been leaked earlier this month, with skin spotlights digging up this scrolling animation that shows highlights from Faker's career, the highs, the lows, and everything in between. And this week, the splash art for the Risen Ari skin was also doing the rounds, which may have 2 separate variants judging by this image. But people are also speculating, based off this moment in Riot's trailer this week, that they may also be releasing a LeBlanc skin for him, another one of his most iconic champions. Now, some people have wondered why they didn't go with the likes of Ryze or even Orianna. I personally think a Shockwave Orianna skin would go pretty hard. Riot also said that in partnership with Mercedes-Benz, they'll be presenting Faker with a dedicated art piece which fuses reality with the world of League of Legends. Sounds intriguing, and they'll also be giving him a custom Mercedes car. Because why not? T1 and Faker will also be receiving a percentage of the revenue from the event passes and bundle sales, and he'll also be getting a trophy. I bet he's probably a bit sick of trophies though at this point. While we wait for the in-game event to kick off, there's been a bit of a debate going on. Not everyone thinks that Faker should have been inducted first, or that Riot should only be inducting one player every year like this.
No Hall of Fame ever inducts just one member first. There's always an opening class of a few players, and inductees aren't ranked in relation to one another. They're all Hall of Famers. And if we establish that we're putting people in the Hall of Fame on a list, does that mean that the second best player of all time has to be inducted second, the third best third, and so on? Because that gets really hard to pin down really fast. And honestly, why can't we just be patient? We all know he's getting in, so why does Faker need to be in the Hall of Fame right now?
Honestly, I do kind of get the argument. Should Riot have waited for Faker to retire first? Have they set themselves up for the Hall of Legends to get less exciting every year by starting with the GOAT? It's an interesting point, but at the same time, Riot would have an actual Riot on their hands from a lot of people if Faker wasn't first. You can disagree with that all you want, but I'm sure they want the launch of their Hall of Fame to go as smoothly as possible. Another debate going on is, of course, who the next inductee might be. A lot of people agree with Faker being the first, but the second is up for debate. Some have suggested Bengi, Faker's former teammate, who is the only other player to have won at least 3 Worlds titles. He also went on to coach T1 for years after he retired from playing. Then, of course, there's Uzi. He may not have won Worlds, but he did get an MSI title and a couple of LPL ones. He's remembered as helping to turn Royal Never Give Up into a Chinese powerhouse, and for showing the early League of Legends community what an AD carry is truly capable of. What about his former teammates Xiaohu and Ming and their 3 MSI titles each? Would that be enough to get nominated? What about Clearlove or Deft? And putting titles aside for a minute, from Europe you could go with Diamond Prox, whose effects on the role of jungling can still be felt today. You've also got Xpeke, who not only won the first Worlds, but whose name has since become synonymous with backdooring a Nexus for well over a decade at this point. And if you start looking at players like that who have moves named after them, the door swings right open for the likes of Madlife and Insect. And if we talk about players who have had huge effects on their regional leagues and contributed to the overall popularity of the esport there, names like Bjergsen, Doublelift, Reckless, and Caps could start to come up in conversation. We've already had a lot of debate about this in our own office right here at theScore Esports, and it's something that people really care about. We have almost 15 years of competitive league to look back on now and argue about who should be next in the Hall of Legends. There are so many good candidates. I could see this becoming an annual tradition. Every year, once MSI ends, we all start flaming each other about who this year's inductee should be. It's gonna be fun. But for now, Faker, the unkillable Demon King, the greatest there ever was, is the first inductee in the Hall of Legends. And I'd say that, on the whole, he's earned it. Think about it. Think about it. It's been 15 years building up to it. And they're gonna get all these Hall of Famers together, put them in a league, and they'll call it the League of Legends. Riot, if you weren't planning on doing that, but you do want to set it up, you've got my number.